I don't know about you, but completing the Pokédex isn't something I was really interested in back when I first started playing these games. I was more into having overleveled Pokemon with insanely strong moves, but one day I just randomly decided I was gonna complete the Pokédex and I actually found it kind of fun. So why not do it again, but this time with proof. But not only are we gonna complete the Pokédex with one copy, we're gonna make this harder by doing a living dex. So instead of having one Pokemon and fully evolving it, we're gonna get each individual Pokemon, which makes this way more annoying. The main reason why I want to do it this way is that it just looks way better in the box. I mean, come on, you can't tell me this doesn't look good. With that, let's get started. The first thing we do is beat the game with Imbor, Simisear, Darmanitan, Heatmor, and Chandelure. The reason why we went ahead and did this is mostly because I like to have access to the whole map without any worries, and it's just personal preference. We still need their other forms, but we'll worry about that later. We also grab an Axew that we named Crouton, and the reason why we grabbed one is because Axew knows False Swipe, which will make catching Pokemon way easier. With that, we go to Route 1 and catch a Patrat and Lillipup. On Route 2, we can catch a Purloin, but we were having a little trouble because for some reason, it would not pop up. After 12 or so encounters, we got one. After that, we head to the Dream Yard and get a Munna, where we also can talk to this lady who will give us an elemental monkey depending on what starter Pokemon we got. And since we got Tepig and it's weak to water, we get Pansage. But that's not the only thing we can get here. In Pokemon Black and White, they introduced a new mechanic where if you run around in or out of the grass, you can find a patch of grass that starts to shake. What's cool about this is that there's Pokemon you can only get this way, and even then it's a bit rare. Because 9 times out of 10, the Pokemon you'll find is Autono, which isn't a bad thing because they give out a bunch of XP, but we'll talk about that later. I forgot to mention that we also catch one, and there happens to be another Pokemon we can get by doing this. So a couple attempts later, we find Musharna, and in the future, I'll just call this Special Encounters because I really don't know what the official name is. Anyways, to the left of Striaton City, there's this area where you can surf where we catch Basculin. On Route 3, we can catch a Pidove and a Blitzel, and there's also a cave nearby called Wellspring Cave, where we can catch Woobat, Roggenrola, and if we run around a little bit, a dust cloud will appear where we could catch a Drillbur. I guess this is a good time to mention that there's different types of special encounters, like the dust cloud we just went through, the bubbling spots we can find in the water, and the shadow spots we can find on a bridge. Passing by Nacrene City, we can head to Pinwheel Forest that actually starts outside the forest. I didn't realize that until recently, which blew my mind. With that, we catch Timpool and Timber. There's also another Pokemon we can get, but it's a bit harder to find. Well, never mind. There is a special encounter we can get, and luckily for us, there's only one Pokemon we need to get, and people call me crazy when I say you can catch a Sock here. After 8 minutes, we find one. Now that we're done here, we go inside the forest and catch 2 Petalils, a Venipede, and a Suwaddle. There's also an area that has a darker patch of grass, and that just means we can find 2 Pokemon at a time, and they're a bit stronger. So with that, we catch a Tranquill, Swadloon, and Whirlipede. With that, we run into our first problem. So one thing I didn't mention the first time about these special encounters is that sometimes you'll find them very fast, or it can take forever to find them. Not only that, they go away if you encounter a Pokemon before you get there, so it can really suck at times. With that, there's 4 Pokemon we need to get, but one is more rare than the others, being Lilligant. Apparently it's like a 5% encounter, but don't quote me on that. All I know is that Lilligant will probably be the last Pokemon we find, and sadly, I was right. We did find Panpour, Pansage, and Pansear, but it took 2 hours to find Lilligant. It was crazy. In total, I ran into 36 Autonos, 2 Pansears, 6 Panpours, and 7 Pansages. It's safe to say I was done for the day. The next day, we crossed the Sky Arrow Bridge, and this alone is the best part of the game. Something about going through this for the first time was just perfect. I think it was the music, or maybe the boat and cars that passed by, but it was just magical. Skipping Castelia City, we head to Route 4 where we catch Darumaka, Sandile, and Scraggy. There's also a water area, so if we surf there, we can get a Frillish, and if we run around a bit, we can get a bubbling spot to get our special encounter. The first one we get is a Lomomola, and I did not know this was a Gen 5 Pokemon. When I found this out for the first time, I was genuinely shocked. I had to search it up because I did not believe it. Also, while we were looking for our last encounter, we ran into the roaming legendary being Thundurus. My goal wasn't to catch him just yet, but just to knock down his HP. So when we do catch him, it should be a lot easier. After 8 or 9 special encounters, we find Jellicent, and all I gotta say is I wanted the blue one. But I guess I hurt its feelings because it did not want to stay in the ball. Alright, fine, I'll apologize. After that, we head to the desert resort, and I always have trouble finding this one Pokemon for some... You know what? Never mind, we get Maractus. After that, we were having a bit of trouble finding Sigilyph and Dwebble, but after 20 or so encounters, we found both of them kinda back to back. In the same area, there's this entrance to go underground, so we try to go inside, but we run into Professor Juniper instead. She gives us a Rare Candy bar and tells us that these statues are real Pokemon, so we wake one up and it turns out to be a Darmanitan. And we already have one, but who cares, this one's cool, it transforms. We go inside Relic Castle where we can get a fossil Pokemon, and I wanted Archon, but I couldn't remember which one it was, so I grabbed the one that sounded like it could fly, and I grabbed the wrong one. Oh man, nothing we can do now. We get the rest of the encounters being Yamask, Cofagrigus, and Krokorok. Now that we got everything, we head to Nimbasa City and immediately go to Route 5 where we catch Trubbish, Minccino, Liepard, and Solosis. All we need now is our special encounters, and I'm already tired of doing this, but for the plot, I'll suffer some more. After 4 encounters, we got Emolga, but that's where our luck ends because it took forever to find our next encounter. I was finding everything but what we needed. I ran into 25 Autonos, 6 Emolgas, and we ran into Thundurus 5 times. It was crazy. After an hour and 10 minutes, we got one. Oh my goodness. Holy cow. We finally found one. Oh my. Holy cow. That took so long. That took an hour. That took a whole hour. Maybe an hour and some change. I gotta double check. And I don't know why, but it definitely felt longer than an hour. We can finally move on where we head to the right of Nimbasa City where we end up at Lost Lorn Forest just to do it again. We run up and down, and this time we had some luck finding Unpheasant first try, but I will say it's really ugly and I don't find the other version any better, but at least it has a funny looking mask. Not too long after, we run into one. I also find it funny how I was slowly losing my mind, just constantly moving back and forth and getting things we didn't need anymore. Oh, that is stressed. I'm stressed. No way. I spent almost an hour looking for that Lilligant. And you telling me I found it in like 20 minutes? Yeah, it wasn't gonna get any better because there was a whole bunch of Pokemon we already have, and all we need is one Leavanny, and of course it would be the last thing we find. We find 18 Autonos, 3 Unpheasants, 3 Lilligants, and yes, I was salty, 5 Pansages, 3 Panseers, 5 Panpours, and 7 Emolgas before we were able to find Leavanny. And surprisingly, it only took an hour, and like I said before, it felt way longer than that. Now that we're done here, we head to Driftvale Drawbridge and get a special encounter being Ducklet. And I'm pretty sure this is the only place you can find them. And I remember back in the day just going up and down collecting feathers. And after 15 or so feathers, I got the encounter noise and I was like, holy cow. So that's where you get Ducklet. Man, good times. Anyways, after crossing the bridge, we make it to Driftvale City and head straight to the cold storage and get a Vanillite. After that, we get our special encounter, and finally, for once, it didn't take long at all. We got ourselves a Stoutland. Oh, chill. Chill! No! Of course this would happen to me. Not only that, it took us 40 minutes to find another one. Yeah, I pretty much called it a day here. On Route 6, we can get a Fungus, Deerling, and Carablast. There's also a cave nearby called Mastriaton Cave where we get a Boulder and 2 Axews. Not only that, but there's another cave being Charstone Cave, and we get 2 Joltics, 2 Pharaoh Seeds, and then I found this. Oh my gosh. I just found a Tynamo. Like the entrance to the cave. I didn't know that was possible. I thought it was on a certain floor. And here we are, just a random Dynamo. Yeah, I was speechless. I played this game over 100 times and not once have I ever found it here. It was crazy to me. Not too long after, we get 3 Clinks, and after that we go to the spot I thought was the only place you could find Dynamo, and we catch 2 more in like 10 minutes. With that, we go to Maastrichton City, and on Route 7 we get Zebstrika and a Watchog. After that, we head to Celestial Tower to catch Litwick and Elgium. Now that we got everything here, we head to Twist Mountain and get a Girder, and man, I love this Pokemon. I just love the name. It's perfect. Its evolution is even better. Kunkelder, I don't know what it is. It just has a nice ring to it. Okay. We also get 2 Cup Shoes, and all we need now is Cryogonal. Apparently you can get it anywhere in this area, but I like going to this one spot with a big block of ice. And in 5 minutes, we catch one. Our next location is Dragon Spiral Tower, and we get Mienfoo, Druddigan, and 2 Golettes. With that, we head down to a Cirrus City where we get a Plapitoad, Stunfisk, and Shelmet. All we need now is our special encounters, but we're gonna go somewhere else because you don't have to use so many repels. So we head to more of a Cirrus and find Seismitoad, and it's also one of those Pokemon I didn't know you could find in the wild, and I just think it's the coolest thing. On Route 9, we really started to have problems with Crouton because all the Pokemon would hit hard and we just couldn't do enough damage. So after getting slapped up by a Garbodor, we do some training and evolve Crouton into a Fracture. After that, catching everything was a breeze. We catch Ponyard, Duosion, and Garbodor. For a special encounter, we catch Uniclus after 9 tries, and I never knew you could find one in the wild, and it's safe to say my mind was blown again. On Route 10, we catch a Buffalant, Rufflet, and a Mungus. At Victory Road, we catch ourselves a Durant, but our biggest problem is trying to find a Dino. For some reason, every time I play this game and look for one, it takes forever to find one, but for some reason, we got really lucky and found 3 really fast. I did end up switching Crouton with Simisear because Dino would spam Dragon Pulse, knocking us out. We also ran around to get a Dust Cloud, and we got an Excadrill. With that, we head to Route 14, and if we talk to this ranger, he will give us an egg. After that, we tried going to this patch of grass, but I couldn't figure it out. I'm not gonna lie, I was confused for a couple minutes, but it turns out you're supposed to surf your way there, so yeah. In the patch of grass, we get a high level Scraggy and a Crustle. With that, that's all the Pokemon you could get in the main game, and now it's time to get all the Pokemon from the post game. Luckily for us, it's not many, so we had a Route 11, and I totally forgot these trainers have really high leveled Pokemon. I'm talking level 65s while we're only at like 55. So we got whooped a lot. It didn't help that all of our strong Pokemon were fire types and they had water types, so you can imagine how that went. We did win eventually, but it was a bit embarrassing. After that, we head down to this water area and we get Braviary. And I also didn't know you could find these in the wild. I remember the first time I ran into one and being so salty. Because back in the day, I remember training a Rufflet and it would level up so slow and evolved really late. So I gave up and I never ended up getting one. We can also get a Bisharp here, which did take a bit of find, maybe 30 minutes, but it wasn't that hard to catch. Our next stop is Marvelous Bridge, and if we run around for a little bit, we can find a Swanna. After that, we go to Route 14 to get our last encounters being Behem and Mienshao. With that, we have got every encounter we can possibly get, taking about 13 hours and 30 minutes. Yeah, that took a while. With that, let's do some in-game trades. But luckily for us, it's just one. So we get our Petalil and head to Nacrene City. And if we talk to this lady, we get a Cottonee. Yeah, that took like a minute. So it turns out we either forgot or missed a couple encounters, but luckily it's not that bad. We get a Woobat, Whirlipede, Krokorok, Deerling, 2 Vanillites, and I had to revive Tortuga. That took about 30 minutes. Now that we for real have everything, we can start breeding Pokemon, and this time we don't have to do any post game. Thank you. I looked at all the Pokemon we needed to breed and realized that we need to breed Imbor, the only problem being that it's a man. So yeah, I need to get a Ditto. So we put Cottonee and Maractus in the meantime while we go grab a Ditto. Luckily for us, it's not too hard to find, so we grab one and put it in the daycare to never see the light of day. Where I realized I took out Maractus, so I pretty much put it in there for no reason. Not my brightest moment. With that, we start running and riding our bikes to get 1 Cottonee egg, 2 Tepig eggs, 1 Tortuga egg, and that 1 egg we got from the ranger. To make these eggs hatch faster, we get a Pokemon that knows the ability Flame Body and put them in the front of our party. Soon enough, all of them hatched. In total, that took us about an hour, so that was really fast. With that, we can start training all the Pokemon that need evolutions, and it's about to be a long day. So what we're gonna do is something called Autono training, and essentially we're pretty much doing special encounters, but this time around all we want is Autonos. They can give out an insane amount of XP, but the higher level we are, the less XP we'll get. For the most part, we're gonna be switch training until they evolve, but there are some cases where some Pokemon could hold their own, so I'll be talking about those for the most part. With that, we do most of our training on Route 14. Everything was going well as we get Pignite, Scrafty, Crocodile, and Scolipede. After doing those, I realized instead of using Emboar to switch train, I should be using Dino instead. The reason being, Dino takes the longest to evolve, so if we use that as switch train, it won't feel as long when we have to evolve it to its final form. With that, we get our Dino and go to Route 10 and train there until it can face the Autonos on Route 14. Not too long after, Dino evolved into Zweilous, and now we can really grind. We switch train Joltik, Deerling, and Tortuga to get Garvantula, Saucebuck, and Caracosta. This is where we had some Pokemon that could hold their own, being Litwick and Golett because they were ghost types. And since Autono is a normal type, all the Autonos couldn't use any attacking moves. So after we took them down, look at how much XP they gave us. 9,664. You can't tell me that's not good XP. After a while, we get a Lampid and a Golurk, and yes, after a while, because even though it's good XP, we weren't as lucky finding Autono. We also didn't do that much damage, so it would take a while. We did some more switch training, so we trained Cubchoo, Vanillite, and Clink to get Beartic, Vanillish, and Clang. We also switch trained Ferroseed until I remembered it had Curse, so we used a couple curses and then Gyro Ball to do massive damage, and then use Metal Claw to finish them off. This was super fun to do, but if we weren't able to get at least 2 curses in, we would get taken out by Double Edge, so we fainted a few times. Other than that, we got ourselves a Ferrothorn. We did have a Pokemon that took forever to evolve, and that was Tynamo. It has a slow growth rate, so it took way longer to get to the next level, even while holding a lucky egg, but it wasn't too bad because that just means I could catch up on some YouTube. So after a while, we got an Electrike, and my goodness, did this thing turn ugly. Now that we've done that, unfortunately, we gotta do it again. We have to evolve the same Pokemon again, but not only that, we have to get them to their final form, which can take forever, because some of these Pokemon evolve around 48, so let's get started. Oh wait, hold on. I totally forgot we needed to do a friendship evolution. So we get one of the Woobats we caught, specifically the one that I caught in a luxury ball. We gave it a Soothe Bell, and all we need to do now is run. Yeah, that's about it. After that, we find an Autono and evolve it into a Swoobat. Alright, now we can get started. First was Axew, and we had to switch train it, but it didn't take long before it turned into a Fracture. After that, we get Crouton, where we just used Dragon Dance and then Dragon Claw until we were able to evolve her into a Haxorus. Next was Tynamo, and again, it was just as long as last time, but after a while, we were able to evolve it again. After that, we did another Dino, and for some reason, this one felt like forever. I don't know if it's because our Zweilous still hasn't evolved after all these Pokemon, but I truly felt defeated as we finally evolved Dino, but Zweilous still didn't evolve. But luckily for us, we just need one more level, so it will probably evolve before Clink evolves. And can you believe it? Even switch training, Clink evolved into Clang before Zweilous evolved. That's insane. We continue to train, and this finally happened. Oh man, that was probably the longest Pokemon I've ever had to train. It's beautiful. It took 7 hours. It felt great until I remembered we still need more Pokemon to train, so let's go do that. Once Clang learned Screech, it could finally take Autonos by itself, so we would spam that and Gear Grind to win the fight. And even though Autono would fight back, it never really did that much damage, so this went by really fast and we got ourselves a clean Clang. Our last Pokemon is Vanillite, and we pretty much switch trained it until we evolved it. After that, we used acid armor and just spammed every attacking move we could possibly throw. After a while, we finally get ourselves a Vanillux. In total, this took a whopping 9 hours to do, and honestly, it didn't feel that bad. I mean, yeah, it was a bit boring just running up and down, waiting to get a special encounter, but I was able to watch a whole lot of YouTube and watch John Wick 1 and 2 for the first time in forever. Now it's time to do stone evolutions, and since I played these games hundreds of times, I had already collected the stones that we needed, so we grabbed a leaf stone, a water stone, a thunder stone, and a sunstone. With that, we get a Simipour, Simisage, Whimsicott, and Electros. In total, that took 5 minutes. And now we can start catching all the legendary Pokemon, so let's get started. We start with Volcarona, and yes, I know it's not a legendary, but it might as well be. He takes out Swanna, Hydreigon, Crouton, and Darmanitan with one hit. We did stand a chance with Chandelure and Imbor, but no matter how many Ultra Balls it took, we couldn't catch it, and eventually all of our Pokemon go down. So we try again, and I'm not gonna lie, we just do the same thing again, but this time we get lucky and we somehow catch it in a Pokeball. Our next legendary is Colbion, and this is where I realized I goofed. So not only did I accidentally knock it out first try, I actually didn't know how many Pokeballs I used, since I didn't record the bottom screen, but from now on, I'll just count them out. In any case, Colbion was really hard to catch, not because it kept attacking, but even on red HP, it kept breaking out as soon as it hit the floor, so it was a bit annoying. In the end, it took 14 Ultra Balls, 7 Great Balls, and 20 Pokeballs before we were able to catch it. Our next legendary is Virizion, and this by far was the easiest one to do. It only took 5 Ultra Balls, 2 Great Balls, and 3 Pokeballs before we were able to catch it. The next one on the list is Terrakion, and this one was a little annoying as it eventually started to take down some of our Pokemon, but it wasn't that bad as it only took 9 Ultra Balls, 6 Great Balls, and 6 Pokeballs before we were able to catch it. Now that we have those out of the way, we can finally catch Thundurus, and we do have to track him down, but luckily for us, it's not hard at all. We look at the bulletin board to see how the weather is looking in the area, and if it doesn't say anything about an unusual storm, then we head to a different bulletin board until it does, where we find it on Route 8. And since we had lowered its health while we were catching Pokemon, all we have to do now is throw a couple Quick Balls and Ultra Balls and we should be able to catch it no problem. The cool thing about the roaming Pokemon in Black and White is that you can find them in the same route if you keep going in and out of the route, so we were able to run into it really easily. We started trying to catch it, and what I thought was gonna take about 15 minutes took an hour 30 to do. It was insane. We came close so many times, but it kept breaking out. I almost gave up multiple times. In total, we ran into Thundurus 33 times. We used 17 Ultra Balls, 3 Great Balls, 3 Pokeballs, and 9 Quick Balls. I wasn't even happy when we caught it. I was more defeated than anything. With that, we can get our last legendary Pokemon being Kyurem. At first, it was rough. Our whole team was getting wiped and we were only able to throw 11 Ultra Balls before going down. Next attempt, we somehow catch it in 4 Ultra Balls, and that was actually mind-blowing. I thought for sure we were gonna be here for a while, but that took maybe 15 minutes. That's crazy. And with that, we have completed the living dex to Pokemon Black and White. If you like this video and want to see more stuff like this, like and subscribe as it really helps out the channel. And until next time, have a great day. See ya.